Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 15th, 2025 meeting of the Salina Public Schools Board of Education. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or amendments needed this evening? Nope. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Deanna
Second.
moves, Bonnie seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. And now on to reorganization of the board for the 25-26 school year. Next on our agenda is election of the board president. I'll open the floor for nominations now.
I nominate Gabe Grant for president.
I second it. Do we second things?
We just are taking nominations. Are there any more nominations? If not, I will now close the nominations for board president. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that the board elect Gabe Grant to serve as president until new officer elections are held at the first regular meeting in July of 2026.
There is a motion. Is there a second? Bonnie seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Next on the agenda, election of board vice president.
I would like to nominate Dana Casso.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I nominate Scott Gardner. It's just to say that I think it's wise to try and have a vice president who's willing to be president after that. So, no offense.
Okay. Are there any more nominations? If not, I will now close nominations for board vice president. Is there any discussion about acceptance or?
I guess I'd just out of question, Mr. Gardner, is that intention that you would want to be president of the board in transition in time?
Okay. Okay, so Scott Gardner and Dana Costa were nominated for.
Can I withdraw my nomination? I don't need it. I don't need it. No, you can't say no.
I will accept the motion to elect one of the nominees as vice president.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that the board elect Scott Gardner to serve as president until the new officer elections are held at the first regular meeting in July of 2026.
VP or president?
Vice president. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry.
Got it. Is there a second?
Second.
Dana enthusiastically seconds. Scott is shaking his head to see how this got off the rails so fast. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, sir. Welcome. Next item on our agenda, approval of the consent agenda items, and it is lengthy this evening. First item, the appointment of the Board of Education clerk is Deborah Howard. Appointment of the Board of Education deputy clerk is Shanna Rector. Appointment of the Board of Education treasurer is Lisa Peters. Annual resolutions to establish regular meetings, to waive the annual requirements for generally accepted accounting principles and fixed asset accounting, to rescind policy statements found in minutes, to adopt 1,116 school hours, and to establish home rule. Establishing official depositories for 2025-2026 as Bank of Tesket, Bank of the Plains, Bennington State Bank, Capital Federal, Central National Bank, Equity Bank, Exchange Bank, First Bank Kansas, Solomon State Bank, Sunflower Bank, and UMB Bank. Establishing the official newspaper for 2025-2026 as the Salina Journal. Annual appointments, first for Deputy Superintendent of Shanna Rector, school attendance officers as the building principals, district coordinator for ADA, bloodborne pathogens, Title VI EEOC, Title VII Civil Rights Act of 1964 is Aaron Wright, Executive Director of HR and Legal Services. District Coordinator for Title IX Gender Equity is Jody Craddock Iceland. District Coordinator for Section 504 is Aaron Wright. Hearing Officer Robert German, Attorney at Law. Custodian of District Records, Deborah Howard, Board Clerk. Custodian of Building Records, Building Principals. Custodian of Student Records, Aaron Wright. Food Service Authorized Representative, Lane Norris, Director of Food and Nutrition Services. Food Service Hearing Officer, Lisa Peters, Executive Director of Business. Food Service Determining Officials, Building Principals, and Lane Norris. Head Start Authorized Representative, Heath Hogan, Superintendent. Capers Designated Agents, Aaron Wright and Steve Dorsweiler, Manager of HR. Current Authorized Representative, Lisa Peters, Custodian of Activity Funds and Gate Receipts, Secondary Principals. Title I Director, Shanna Rector. Freedom of Information Officer, Olivia Opat, Director of Communications. Homelessness Coordinator, Jody Craddock Iceland. Asbestos Manager, Kevin Riddle, Grounds Maintenance. Transportation Supervisor, Paul Menching, Executive Director of Operations. Approval of the minutes of the June 10th, 2025 regular meeting, the personnel report, and the financial reports, which include the end-of-year bills from June 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2025, the May Treasurer's Report, the May Investment Report, and journal entries for May and June. Approval of the June 30th, 2025 underencumbered cash balances. Approval of the following encumbrance listings. First, to Logicalis in the amount of $35,242.21 for the renewal of maintenance contracts for networking equipment. To Akita Box for the annual renewal of the maintenance management system software in the amount of $39,755.63. To BCS for projected technical support for HVAC controls during the 2025-2026 school year in the amount of $150,000. To Train for projected HVAC repairs during the 2025-2026 school year in the amount of $150,000. To JMH Cleaning in the amount of $100,000, and Citywide Facility Solutions in the amount of $150,000 for cleaning services to augment our custodial operations for the 2025-2026 school year. To Four States Maintenance Supply in the amount of $200,000 for cleaning supplies for the 2025-2026 school year. To Village Travel for projected expenditures for charter bus services during the 2025-2026 school year in the amount of $250,000. To Cisco Food Services in the amount of $157,000, and Highland Dairy Foods in the amount of $35,000 for purchases for Heartland Early Education for the 2025-2026 school year, and to the Contract Paper Group for the purchase of white copy paper in the amount of $48,552. Approval of a Lakewood Middle School paving project change order to Encore Paving in the amount of $53,348.51. Approval of the South High Football Soccer Field change order for fencing to Mammoth Sports in the amount of $78,000. Approval to exceed the revenue neutral rate, authorizing administration to prepare the revenue neutral rate calculations, and if applicable, notify the county clerk by July 20th, 2025 that USD 305 will exceed the revenue neutral rate for the applicable levying funds. Approval of the 2025-2026 mileage allowance to establish at the federal mileage reimbursement rate. As of July 1st, 2025, the federal mileage reimbursement rate is 70 cents per mile. Approval of the 2025-2026 petty cash funds for Heartland Early Education, the district office in the amount of $1,500 per fund, and approval of the 2025-2026 facility fees. Comments or questions on any consent agenda items? Not, I take a motion.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Item R on the fencing. The fencing was, for clarification, the fencing was not in the original bid, or it was in the original bid, and this is just extra, or what is?
So it was our original intent to replace that fencing using a local vendor. However, we could not get it completed in time, so we added the change order through Mammoth.
Yes.
So the people that were going to put it, the company that was going to put it up, couldn't get it up in time? Is that the idea? And which company was that?
We have not had a positive experience with the vendor that we've used for fencing, and so they've not been able to complete our projects in a timely fashion. And because of the nature of protecting this large investment, we needed to get it done in a more timely fashion. And so Mammoth has more resources to be able to do that.
Okay.
But my question is, was it in the original amount of money that was approved?
No, because we were going to do that out of separate funds.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Motion to approve the consent agenda items? Yes.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Scott seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. On to our public forum. We did not have anyone turn in a form by the deadline yesterday at noon to speak today. So on to item 7 and our action agenda. First, item A, 2025-2026 Handbook for Retired Certified Teachers, Retired Educators with Aaron Wright. You're welcome to sit over there too if you would like.
Good evening.
Thank you.
As you may recall, last month we brought you information related to the changes to classified and protect staff groups based on the negotiations process this year with the teachers. Tonight, we bring you changes to the Retired Educators Handbook for that same reason, to make the provisions within that handbook comport with the same changes we have made for the rest of the staff groups. What is in here tonight is basically the Retired Educators Handbook contains portions of the overall negotiated agreement. Primarily, it is in lockstep, but there are a few provisions that are not applied to the Retired Educators Group, which is why why it's necessary to do this as a separate presentation. To sort of go over the basic major substantive changes, we made the same changes related to the hours and amounts of work, changing that from the contract year from 188 days to 182 days, and the duty day from 7 3/4 hours to 8 hours a day. We made the structural changes related to the PTO buyback regarding the conversion of days into hours for the purposes of recording total balances for the employees. Parental leave and bereavement leave is being recommended added for those groups. Those did not get added when the changes were made to the other staff groups last year, so we would like to do that now. And then the changes regarding the meetings outside the duty day that we made in the agreement this year, identifying professional expectations related to the primary contract, and then allowing compensation for those student events that are held outside of workday hours when it's not related to the primary contract. We also reiterated the position of the board, the district, and the Teachers Association related to safety of students as well as our staff in the classrooms. And then you will see there were many changes related to formatting, grammar, specifically the changes related to language, related to how things were just structured in the agreement. Do you have any questions for me about those changes in your packet?
Questions from anyone?
Mr. President, I move we approve the changes to the 2025-2026 Retired Certified Teachers Handbook as presented.
Thanks. In a second.
Second.
Jim seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Now on to item 7B, board representative appointments. with Superintendent Heath Hogan. And
Yeah,
I
Mr.
should have,
Pres-
at the
Mr.
start of the meeting, said welcome. Welcome to you.
Well, thank you.
Excited to have you.
So, Mr. President, every year we assign, if you will, the board to represent 305 with different community groups, if you will. So if you would click on that link, we have a number of people assigned to those. So you can look through that group list. We try to divide it up, equally in conversations with president and then vice president. So we would ask that you approve these at this time.
Just have a comment.
Yes.
I will note that because of new laws, which I don't quite understand, we can't have two of us on any of these committees or groups that we've had in the past. We've had alternates and we've had backups and we've had two at a time, and now we can't, right? Can anyone explain that? Can you, Heath, explain that law?
I don't know really that anyone can explain. So it's House Bill 2134, and it doesn't not allow it. It puts some restrictions to board in terms of what you have to notice as a meeting. Even changes some things that we'll be addressing, further in this year, as an example with our negotiations process. So it's a little wonky because in order to have a quorum with the board, you would have to have 4 members, present in order to open a meeting, as an example. But there will be circumstances like the negotiations meeting where we won't have 4 representatives of the board, but there will be times where we'll have to go into an executive session. As an example, we wanted to caucus about something. That will have to be noticed and then going into an executive session, so there would be minutes there. That would just a different process. And so in order just to avoid some of those headaches, then we've just assigned 1 board member, and there would be no majority, just as a single member to these committees. But certainly we can be flexible if you needed somebody to cover or doing those kinds of things. We can make arrangements to do that. So we're not trying to, not follow the law, certainly, or trying to do anything that's undermining what that is. It just cleans up our process.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move that we approve the 2025-2026 board representative appointments as presented.
Bonnie seconds. Is there any further discussion there? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Last on our action agenda tonight, item 7C, cardiac emergency response plan.
Good evening. I'm bringing this forward because the Kansas State Legislature directed the Kansas Department of Health and Education to develop statewide standards for cardiac emergency response plans. And so in response to that, we had board policy that was put into place in August of 2024. And then we have now developed our cardiac emergency response plan based upon the guidelines that were outlined by those statewide standards. We also reviewed exemplars from other organizations, and we developed then our cardiac plan that is presented in the packet tonight. And that plan is basically allowing us to have a template that all of our buildings will be able to utilize and look at their staff, make sure they get individuals assigned to where they need to be assigned. We will do training on this particular plan as a district administrative team, and then each of our buildings will then provide that plan for us so we can submit it for that July 31st deadline. Are there any questions?
So when you say establish a cardiac emergency response team, is that volunteer? Is that...
So what the buildings will do, every building has a crisis planning team, and that's directed by either the building operator at that particular space or the building principal if it's a school. And so what they do is each year they talk with their staff, they identify individuals that have different skill sets, so having that CPR, having that knowledge about utilizing an AED, they will then identify the individuals that they want on their team, and those team members will join that. And so when you say volunteer, I think that they look for individuals that have a good set of skills. The nurse will be a constant on that plan. And so it really is a conversation about what do we need as a building to make sure that we're prepared for any crisis. And this is one of the pieces that they need to have in place. And we have several plans for different types of events that they organize and identify the best people for.
Anybody else? Questions, comments, motions? Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the USD 305 Cardiac Emergency Response Plan as presented.
Is there a second? Janice seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next on our discussion agenda, item 8A, textbook adoption with Laura Lyons.
Good evening. It's nice to see everyone. I have for you tonight a textbook adoption for our December adoption of baking and pastry, as you may remember. I'm excited to say that our FACS teachers were able to review textbooks and go through the same rigorous process that we use for every textbook. And they selected, instead of the first choice, which was a Culinary Institute textbook of 1,100 pages, a much more reasonable 825-page book called On Baking that is aligned to our Kansas competencies for baking and pastry. And we checked with a culinary program that this textbook would be a wonderful preparation for our students in anticipation of even if they go on to culinary. And so it's aligned to the culinary program actually at Flint Hills. They use the same textbook, but the college version of it. This is the high school version of it. And so I have for you tonight the adoption of 2 classroom sets, one for each of our high schools. And I'm excited to say that nearly 100 students requested this course, and we will be able to accommodate the majority of them this year. And so about 100 licenses over the course of the next 6 years. So you'll see before you that we have an amount of $15,015.68 for this adoption. What questions can I answer for you?
Just curious, do they have to do something else before they go into baking and pastry? Do they have prerequisites?
Yes, that's a wonderful question, and I absolutely would say yes. They would have to take a culinary essentials class, and then they would have a culinary applications class that would come somewhere in between, like it could be taken at the same time this course is taken. This is part of a restaurant and hospitality pathway for CTE. So yes, they would have to take at least one course in advance of taking this course.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I know this item is on our discussion agenda, but to assist our staff, I'd request that we move that to the action agenda and approve it tonight if the board so will.
Is that a motion?
That is my motion.
Second.
Scott seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now on to school board committee reports and upcoming dates of importance. The district-wide staff meeting and first day back for staff, Thursday, August 7th at Central High School at 8 a.m. Wednesday, August 13th is the first day of school. And then KSB conference this fall, already on our radar, November 14th through 16th in Wichita. Any report, Scott?
Yes. I attended the Salina Adult Education Center graduation at South High. That's always inspiring. Those adults have to overcome a lot of challenges to make it to graduation. I attended the CKCIE Board of Control meeting, and there was a lot of discussion and consternation about the fact that the legislature seems to be continually and maybe deliberately unaware of the underfunding of special ed and the millions of dollars that the districts fork over from general ed funds to cover the necessities of special ed. But we did not solve that problem. Parks and Rec Advisory Board, there's a new lightning detector that's installed around Oakdale Park. And if there's lightning, there's going to be a loud horn. And There's a timer on the Parks and Rec website that starts for 30 minutes, and as soon as that 30 minutes runs out, if no more lightning has been detected, all the activities can continue. I would also mention that Parks and Rec partnered with Gary Seibel's Industrial Arts class at South High, and the class constructed some sturdy tables for the big water jugs that go into the dugouts at two of the city's baseball stadiums, at Dean Evans Stadium and Pestinger Family Stadium. The last thing is that with support from the Salina Arts and Humanities, I led sing-alongs at the public lunches for kids, once at Huesner and twice at Schilling. And they overlapped a little bit with the lunches from the summer school kids, so I got to sing with them too. And we sang traditional songs like Hush Little Baby and This Old Man and the ABC song. And I will say that If You're Happy and You Know It was a big hit every time.
Good evening. On 12 June, I attended the Smoky Hill Educational Service Center Executive Cabinet meeting where we discussed the 2024 audit report and financial statement, as well as the Executive Director's evaluation debrief. And then again, on the 18th of June, I attended Salina Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting, and we discussed new business, old business, and the project status updates. And on the 26th of June, I as well attended the Salina Adult Education Center's graduation that was held at Salina South High. It's very apparent that Kelly Mowbray and the team at SAEC have clearly fostered a sense of camaraderie and pride, enabling them to meet all their successes there. And it's bittersweet to go out and see them who've overcome all the challenges that they've had to achieve their goals and walk that stage. So. And then lastly, on the 12th of July, I attended the Smoky Hill Educational Service Center and Executive Cabinet meeting again, and we discussed annual resolutions, the appointments, and Executive Cabinet recruitment, amongst other orders of business for the future. And that will be one thing that they'll want to be broaching at the KASB convention this year, to try to incorporate more cabinet personnel there. Often we're there at the meetings, and we're waiting to have a quorum, unfortunately. So they're going to try to make sure we can have a little better showing of representation of everybody within the co-op.
I attended the graduation for the Salina Adult Ed and ditto what Ann and Paul said, but then Shanna gave a great speech at the graduation as well, and it was a wonderful evening.
I attended a CKCIE Board of Control meeting in June, and echo all the things Ann said. I don't think since that time there's been any more action that has brought certainty to any of those sort of situations. So, but we'll see. We have a meeting on Friday, and Jeff may have solved it all in the last 3 weeks. So, that's also fun. On to superintendent's report.
Yeah, Mr. President, so I got to take a little vacation from Smoky Valley and come up and spend some time with Lynn and helping with the transition, and she was awesome through that several days we got to spend. I got to start meeting with some of the executive team, and so that's been nice. Obviously drinking from a fire hose in terms of learning systems and processes here that we have at 305. Got to attend a budget workshop. I guess no real surprises there. Some of that came later with some of the funding issues that's happened from the federal level that Ann mentioned. Got to meet with some vendors, Credit Union of America, who's a great partner for 305. Got to meet with them and meet some of their folks, both locally and kind of throughout the state where their offices are. We are also starting with another partner. It's the Boys and Girls Club. They've requested to utilize one of our building, and we're in the process of approving a MOU, which will be presented to the board to use Oakdale. That will happen in late fall. They'll use it for second semester. So that's a really great opportunity for kids kind of in that neighborhood, certainly. It will expand a little bit if needed, but they're essentially taking care of everything. Had really good success in different communities with programs like that. So it will replace a program that we had a long time ago, the grant funded the 21st Century Grant, and so it will give us another opportunity where we can take care of our kids after school. So really great opportunity for us to partner with them, and we'll keep you updated. Kind of two more things. We have open enrollment going on right now, and we're in a process of a software update, which has not been great, not from our perspective, but from the companies. So just want to give a shout out to everybody that's been working through that. It's caused a lot of extra work, a lot of extra hours in order to try to get that off the ground. You know how important our enrollment numbers are, and that's our main source of funding. And so we're all with kind of holding our breath that that's going to work out, but I'm anticipating it being, again, more work. There's just things that were not in place, again, not from our perspective, but I don't think the company was quite ready for us, if you'll say that, so we're kind of guinea pigs. So that's a big deal. And then another shout out, I got an email from Mr. Doors Weiler today about our CAPERS audit. And so it's something that is required of the district every 3 years. We have made the choice to do that on an annual basis, and that way, if there's any hiccups, rule changes from a CAPERS perspective, that we'll catch those things early on. And the audit feedback was exceptional. I'll read a few things that were listed from the auditor. So generally impressed with our district, one of the easiest agencies that she has ever audited, and actually hopes that she gets assigned to us in future years. For a district our size, she said the performance was outstanding. So typically in those things, if you've made mistakes, claimed something that you weren't supposed to, or didn't claim something from the employer's perspective, it's not uncommon to have that happen. And with all of our employees, we had essentially one mistake that cost us $50.78. And there's another comparable where this auditor had worked with a county that owes over $200,000 for issues through the CAPERS process. So that doesn't happen without hard work from our departments and the HR office and the business department working together in order to do things the right way. And so just want to recognize all of their hard work that they've done to have such good feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have an executive session for student matters. And how long are we thinking for that? Good. Sounds good. Anyone can make that motion?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I move that the Board of Education go into executive session at 6:05 for 10 minutes for the purpose of discussing matters related to actions adversely or favorably affecting a person as a student, because if this matter were discussed in open session, it might invade the privacy of those discussed, and that the Board of Education reconvene into open session at 6:15 in the SEC room.
Thanks, Teresa. Second. Dana seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. We will move to executive session, be back here in this room at 6:15. We're back in open session and have another motion to make for anyone who wants to view the paper.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education go into executive session at 6:18 for 10 minutes for the purpose of discussing matters relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a person as a student, because if this matter were discussed in open session, it might invade the privacy of those discussed, and that the Board of Education reconvene in the open session at 6:28 in accordance with my previous statement in the SEC room.
Motion was for 6:18 to 6:28 for 10 minutes. Yes, okay. And Ann seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. We will go into executive session, be back in this room in open session at 6:28. We are back from executive session and have no further action to take this evening, other than a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn. Oh,
Scott's
Mr.
got it.
President. Oh, I said.
Bonnie seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all. Have a good evening.